Alright, so I was doing some street tuning on this thing about a week ago now. After I put the head gasket in and everything was doing good, no issues, then I started, I was just tuning third gear, and then I started to throw fourth and then ride fourth out a little bit, and then I did a full fourth gear pull, and when I did so, felt fine the whole pull, but as soon as I let out, I looked over and temperature was climbing. It went to I looked over, it was like 208, then 210, 212, 215. I shut it down, coasted to a parking lot real fast. I knew what happened already. The head gasket was done, so I pulled over, checked real fast. Sure enough, coolant everywhere. So I'm pretty sure I detonated this gasket. It just doesn't have any quench zone. I mean, it's like feeler gauge thickness between piston and head. It's got to be right around like 6,000 or something like that of clearance. Maybe it's not much. It's very, very tight. So that's with the JE Pro Seal. It's a 0.33. Factory is a 0.30. But you just can't use a standard gasket with this setup. Before I was using a 0.50. I wanted to bump the compression a little bit, so what I ended up doing is I bought another Cometic, what I was running, but I bought a 0.40, so it's a little thinner, but more than what it is right now, and then we'll go from there. I think it'll be fine with a 0.40. That's what I was originally going to go with, and then I started looking into the JE Pro Seal, and I didn't see any other options besides a 0.33. So I'm going to go with this gasket, but I did start pulling it apart already. I'll show you what the damage is once I get this head off. I just pulled some of the connectors off and the radiator hose and whatnot, so I'm going to pull this thing the rest of the way apart real fast, and then I'll show you the gasket here in a minute, and I'll show you the steps of the new gasket, and we'll go from there. Also, guys, I always try to coat my gaskets with copper spray. I get this from Advanced Auto Parts, are up the road from me. Like I said, this is a 0.40 gasket. It's that part number. But the problem that I had with the JE is these rivets. You got to be careful. That rivet and this rivet there. You got to be careful when you put these on to make sure that those aren't going to be in the way of the mating surface, and that JE Pro Seal was. So I had to drill 2 rivets just to make it work, and the dowel pin holes were not the right size. So it said that it was the right gasket for my motor, but after having to drill holes and whatnot, I don't think it actually was. So anyway, like I said, I like to do copper spray. I normally do 2 coats, front and back. And then I'll slide it on. I'm gonna do that now because it's actually gonna start to rain here in a few, so I'm gonna get it coated, and then that way I can hide it up in the garage. Alright, so just pulled the gasket off. Looks like it blew between 2 and 3. You can see, let me put it back down. You can see here and here, just real lightly, you can see it push through on both of those. And then you can see it on the cylinder itself a little bit. Right there, it's like a little darker. You got some exhaust, same thing right there. But that's not the only issue. That gasket is also too tight. So you see where it's shiny right here on this edge? That's where the piston is hitting the head once it grows. And looks like that one did it, and that one did it, and it also valve hit just ever so slightly right there on that one and that one. Looks like the others are fine, but those 4 valves definitely kissed a little bit, so we'll see if they're bent. They most likely are. So I'm gonna check them here in a minute and go from there. Actually, I'm gonna turn this thing over so you can see, but again, you can see right here on this edge where it definitely hit the head, and we'll look at the head in just a second. Here's the other cylinder. Yeah, see right there on the edges, all the way around. Valves kissed. This one here on the edge again kissed the head. So it looks like every cylinder hit the head a little bit, and then these two, the valves hit on the intake side. All right, well, check it out. Now I know I can't run that thin of a gasket. That's for sure. So let's check the head out. See what happened to it. Anything noticeable? Yeah, you can see where the piston's hitting the outside edge here. Let me grab a flashlight so it shows up a little better. Yeah, you can see all right here in this edge. Right here, it's hitting. It looks like fresh metal. Right there. Right there. Right there. Yeah, every cylinder. So, all right. Well, that doesn't work. No big deal. We'll put the thicker gasket on there and go from there. Figure out which of these valves hit. It's these two. Those two intake valves are the ones that kissed. They actually look like they're seating really well still, and actually the motor was still running perfect, so wouldn't be surprised if they're fine. Yeah, they look like they're fine. I'll have to do a pressure test on them and check for sure, or at least pour some water in the cylinders, make sure they don't leak. All right, well, that's that. We'll test it out and make sure it's okay, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do from there. All right, so I'm just gonna check this thing real fast, make sure it's sealed up enough to put back on. If not, then I'll have to bring the machine shop and get it fixed. But first thing, make sure you got some play in your rockers. Make sure the valves are completely up. And these are the only ones I'm concerned about. The only one that touch the pistons are those four. So they look like they're seated pretty good, but we'll find out. I'm going to pour a little water in the intake chamber, intake runner here, and then we'll see if it leaks. If it leaks, obviously, then that's not a very good seal, and it's not good enough. If it doesn't leak water, then then that's good enough for me. All right. Those are both full of water now, and neither of them are leaking at all. So looks good to me. That'll go right back on. I didn't really think it was going to have any issues because the car was still running perfectly fine. So, oh, there's one little tiny spot starting to come up right there. I'm honestly not worried about that. That's nothing. That could be carbon on the valve for all I know. That's nothing. I'm not worried about it. Alright, well, good deal. I'll clean this thing up and put it back together. Alright, well, it's all back together. It's running pretty good, but it's all wet outside, so we'll have to play with it another day, but it sounds good. It sounds better than it did with the other gasket. The other gasket actually sounded like a lot noisier, probably because the pistons were hitting the head, but very lightly. But anyway, that's it. Just let it warm up real fast and stop it pulling off. The thermostat just opened, so he's good to go. We'll go for a ride here soon.